Hello, my beautiful Hair Lounge community. My name is Angelina, and this is a Hair Lounge. Today, I'm going to talk all about those fun new curtain bangs. I'm going to show you how to cut them and style them. Stay tuned and we'll get right into it. If you enjoy learning about hair, click the subscribe button and the bell to get notified for all my new videos. If you guys are anything like me, I go back and forth all the time of should I get bangs? Should I not get bangs? I decided I'm gonna try out the curtain bang because it's pretty versatile and you can wear them down. You can push them to the side still, or they're a little bit long so you still can pull them back whenever you're doing all your different styles. So I wanted to hop on here and show you guys how I am going to cut my own bangs. Obviously my hair, as you can see, is wet. I did shampoo it and I'm still going to spray my bangs a tiny bit more just so it will cut a little bit nicer for me. I'm gonna begin by sectioning my hair. Depending on how thick you want your curtain bangs to be, that's going to determine how much hair you're bringing forward. I'm gonna go a little conservative just to start, just because I haven't had bangs in a really long time. As you can see, they're pretty thin. You can see through them. Then I have this nice little cowlick on this side, so I wanna make sure I have enough hair on that right side too. So I am going to take just a tiny bit more in this section. So that's about as much as I'm going to start with. Now I'm going to spray them just because they kind of dried a little bit on me. And since I have that cowlick in the front, it makes it a little bit harder to cut. As you can see, I got my sectioning. It's still fairly thin, so I can still see through it. But as you can see in this front, it is very even. I wanna make sure that I have the same amount on each side and it starts or begins exactly in the same spot. That way, when you're actually styling your hair, you know where your bangs start or begin. Then I'm going to clip the rest of this back and out of my face. The biggest thing with bangs is when you first start it, you want to make sure you are conservative, because if you get too much, you cannot add any hair back on. And that's obviously why a lot of times people try to cut their own bangs and it's a disaster. To begin with the curtain bang, you want the middle section to be shorter. And the biggest thing when you're cutting bangs, always cut up into your bangs and not straight across. This is going to give you kind of a softer look in the very front, and it doesn't give you kind of the harsh lines. And really the curtain bang is more of kind of a 70s style, and they did a lot of, you know, feathering and kind of like that softer framing around the face. So you want to make sure that you're keeping your line very soft. So this middle section, I'm going to start with it being a tiny bit shorter than the rest of the hair that I'm doing. Okay. You want to make sure when you're holding your hair, you're not pulling it super tight. When you're pulling it super tight, and if you have any body to your hair whatsoever, it's going to get really short once it lays at its natural resting point. Then you need to determine where you want them to start. Like I said, I'm going to go conservative to begin with, do them a tiny bit longer than what I actually want, and make sure you're combing them straight down and you are not elevating them too much. That way you know right where they're going to rest. So like I said, I'm going to point cut into the hair, and I started in the middle section. So as you can see, they're still pretty long, but that is what I want because you can always cut more. So let's go back in. I'm going to do a tiny bit more. Okay, so now this is where you're going to start kind of your edges and making them a tiny bit longer. So you use that hair that you cut previously as your guide. And I like to slide cut through them, and while you're going down, you are making it longer. So it goes longer on your edges. Then you're going to do the same thing to this side. Like I told you before, I have that cowlick, so it has a lot more body to it right there. And so this, I'm going to have to make sure I cut a tiny bit longer, or else it's going to look shorter since I have that cowlick. So taking this section and slide cutting that down. And then when you're going through your hair, you're measuring to make sure. So obviously I said I want this to be longer, but it's still a tiny bit too long. A little bit more. Right now I'm just measuring everything to make sure it is the same length. I need to take this section just a tiny bit shorter. As you guys could see, it was a little bit longer, just kind of right next to my first original cut. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to respray them, since obviously you can see they're kind of starting to dry. So as you can see, these edges, I made them a little bit longer, and then this front section is shorter. I do think I want it to be just a little bit shorter and blended. So as you can see, there is that middle section that I originally cut. So I am just going to blend that just a tiny bit more, but still going at kind of an angle and point cutting into my actual bangs, just to kind of blend that in a little bit more. I never like to refine my cutting until my hair is dry, just because all hair shrinks up. When it's wet, it stretches, and so it seems like it's longer than it actually is until you dry it. So now we're gonna go and start styling it and see how it looks. So right now I'm gonna use a detail cream, and this is just going to keep my bangs in control. So I'm gonna put that just all through my bangs. And then I'm going to let my hair, the rest of my hair, down that I clip back. Okay, now we're going to dry. So while I'm drying, you can use a brush if you want to, but I am just going to use my vent brush that I normally use when I'm trying to get a little bit of lift out of it, and I'm gonna start pushing it to the left and to the right. So my Rusk Super Freak dryer and a normal Cricut vent brush, low heat, and you want to make sure your bangs are still wet, not, you know, super wet, but just damp, because you want to make sure you're able to style them before they style themselves. As you can see, I'm taking that cowlick first and drying it and pushing it all over to my left side. Then I will be going to this right side and doing the same thing. Don't forget, if you like what you see, hit that red subscribe button right now. Okay, so as you can see, they are dry, and I did them all straight down. So this is kind of the point where you decide if you want them shorter. Obviously you can see they're right in my eyes, so I am going to take them a little bit shorter. You can kind of see where my cowlick starts doing weird stuff, but that's why you go longer originally. That way you can go back and cut more. Like I said, you cannot add it. Hit that like button if you've ever had really bad bangs, been cut on you, or they were way too short to begin with, because I know we've all had that horrid bang story. I'm gonna take, again, this middle piece and cut this one a little bit shorter. As you can see, that the scissors are going straight in, not giving me any harsh lines. So as you can see, I got majority of it kind of cut the way that I want, but since I have more of an A-line style, all this on this section is longer. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just blend that into those sections that I left that were a little bit long on my edges. I'm just gonna blend that piece that is falling forward. As you guys can see, my cowlick gives me trouble, but we will get it doing the right stuff for us. The problem with bangs is they grow super fast, so you almost want to not cut them exactly how you want them. Do it a tiny, tiny bit shorter than what you originally think, just because they do grow so fast. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is on this left side, so this is kind of my thicker side, I'm just going to get some of that weight out of there so it's not so heavy looking. Okay, now we're gonna style. I'm just gonna style it how I normally style it. Obviously not the bangs. I'll come back and show you how I do the bangs, but I'm gonna just go ahead and start curling it, so I will be back in a jiff. So now I'm kind of getting up towards the front, and those longer pieces that I had just cut, I'm curling those back kind of into my actual hair. And that's gonna give you kind of that semi-farrafosity look and incorporate those curtain bangs back into your hair. And I'm gonna just do that on both sides. You don't want to curl them a ton, but just enough to get them to kind of feather back. So at this point, you could spray it with hairspray, put your product in it, kind of do whatever you want with it. But this is my version of a curtain bang. I like this because I can wear it different ways. I can wear it still straight down and kind of piecey, rock it up a little bit, or push it to the side like a normal kind of curtain bang. What do you guys think? I hope you guys like this. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time. Bye.